Alright. So let me show you guys the prep work that we did for the mid-poly for the Treant. So here it is. It changed the location because I was doing some Zbrush centering. But here it is. This is the mid-poly that I created out of our low poly. Out of this guy here. And basically what I did pretty much all over him is grab a lot of these edges. Like this. Because when you subdivide into Zbrush, this is what it actually does in Zbrush as well. It starts rounding everything up, right, and adding polys and polys and polys. So you want to keep your edges straight like that. For a lot of these sections, you need to bevel them first. So what you want to do is grab a really small bevel, you know, and like just about there. So when you subdivide in Zbrush, it keeps your shape and your corners. Just do a trial and error on different edges and see what works out before you bring it into Zbrush, but that's something that's really important. You want to keep your volumes when you come into Zbrush. You don't want to have to redo those every time. If you keep those, then when you go into Zbrush, then you're just worrying about adding the detail and making that detail really stand out. You don't want to be worrying about volumes all the time, so that's why I like to do a mid-poly to get my volumes perfect, and then I can just go crazy with detail, and that's what we're gonna do during the stream. So this is subdivided once, just so you guys could see everything. And what I did here too is I threw over half of the model, well, part of half of the model over here on the left side. And that is so that I didn't have to subdivide the whole left side and use memory that I was not going to use, because it's going to be mostly mirrored on the right and left side for the texture. So I just kind of left this middle part for this section up here is going to be unique, and this part's unique in UVs, and this part's unique in UVs. So I left, that's why I left part of this over here, so that when I cross over, I can see my mirror on the chin and on the chest, and I can see how the mirror is going to react, so that it doesn't look too mirrored, you know. And at the same time, I have the space left over here for the unique stuff. So the seam around here is going to be a little tricky, but we'll fix that in Photoshop, even if we don't get it perfect across this line over here. But you guys will see that stuff later. That's right, Brim Bear. Thanks, man. How many hotkeys have I memorized for my projects? You mean for like Softimage and Zbrush and Photoshop? A lot. A lot of keys. I don't even use the menus really for anything in Zbrush or in Photoshop or anything. Actually, in Photoshop, I added my own set of keys for zooming in, zooming out, my color adjustments, levels, everything. I don't use the toolbars anymore. But I'll call those out, or I'll use the tools, you know, as much as I can remember, so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. But I usually call out whatever I'm working on anyways, so hopefully I won't miss anything for you guys. Alright, also one thing for the edges, I add a few, like 4 or 5 different little extra edge loops to the ends of things, of the models. And that is so that when I'm ZBrushing towards the end, it doesn't just eat up and move that edge like crazy. I think there's an option for that, but I just like doing this anyways because it's safer, and if I do want to move it a little bit, I can still do it, and I'm not locked away, so it's the best of both worlds. So I suggest you guys do this kind of workflow for your open edges in ZBrush. So that's a little bit about the prep work for your mid-poly stuff. Hopefully that'll help you guys out some. Alright. So here's our test dude. Oh, and I didn't have the resolution or the definition for these like little placeholder fingers. So that's actually something that I modeled into the mid poly as well that I didn't show you guys. Let me see if I have it in here. This is what. Well, let me get that. What our low poly looks like for his little gorilla hand. Oh, I have it in a different font. No, there it is. So I went ahead and just kind of like modeled in mid poly just the quick little fingers that I can just fix up and do really quickly in Zbrush. So I had the definition going there. So even this will actually bake really well for what we need it for the distance that we're at. Hey, Bucks of Ninjas! Tony, what's up, man? Hey guys, this is Tony. I worked with him back at Digital Extremes like 8 years ago, I think it was now. 8 or 9 years ago. Thanks for coming back, coming around, dude. We're gonna be doing some Zbrush sculpting today, man. So there's our little monkey hand right there. So like I was saying, this is actually gonna bake really well as it is. You know, I'm still gonna ZBrush it a little bit just to make it pretty, but in game, you know, it's gonna be underneath the grass, and it's gonna be like the lowest part of the model. So you only see it like maybe in like fight animations and death animations and things like that. But we'll still sculpt a little bit of detail into it. It also uses less UV space than most other parts of the model because of that reason as well, because we don't really see it that often. So we decided to give more resolution to other parts of the model. So over here you can see the hand. I think this part's of the hand too. Nope, not that part. Not over here. And the fingers in here, yeah. So, I mean, we had that open space, I think, so we were able to fit everything really nicely into our UV section. But there it is. So there's a few things to keep in mind when you're UVing your stuff, and the spacing and how small or big you make it. You know, give the important stuff a little bit bigger space in the UV so you get better resolution for those areas, like we did for like the face and these sheets. So here's that other half I was talking about that I made for prep work as well. Just to close off. Oh, it's like CJ. Hello? Welcome to a live workshop. Digital Extremes? No, they're in Canada. They're in London. But they used to have two studios. They used to have a studio in Toronto and a studio in London, and then they just merged the studios back up. Alright. That was our placeholder. I think we can get rid of it now. And start from scratch. So guys, I promised you guys we're doing this guy from scratch. Oh, that's one other thing. Check this out. So that first test model, I had the mouth completely closed, how he's going to be for his idol. And that was a nightmare to work with because I couldn't get in there to sculpt. So I went ahead I pushed this back out to soft image, to my mid poly. That's why it's down here. And I grabbed some of these verts and I opened it up, well, with a soft selection, I kind of rotated it from over here somewhere, and I opened up the mouth slightly so that I could get in there to either hide this part of the mesh, or hide the top as I sculpt the inside and the outside of this, and the front teeth, and anything that will get in there. Otherwise it would have been just a complete nightmare to work with. Or I would have to select really carefully and hide and do all that stuff in Zbrush, and it's a waste of time. So I opened the mouth up a little bit so I can get in there and sculpt. So then when we do our bakes, we'll just move, we'll make a throwaway version of our low polygon for the gorilla, for in-game, and we'll move those low poly verts to fit this open mouth, and then we'll bake the model and we'll get perfect UV bakes. And then we just apply that texture to our non-thrown away closed mouth, and it'll be all good. So that's the game plan. The best option to sculpt a feather or an Indian headdress. For Dota 2, I would suggest, I mean, you can do the feather in here if you want to get some of that, a little bit of the volume for the inside of the feather. But you can also just do it in Photoshop if you use your black and whites and then that the NVIDIA filter. If you know how to do a little bit of gradients, and you get a little bit of that lift off in the middle, and then you have to do that in Zbrush. Or you can make the alpha of the feather in Photoshop and import that as an alpha for Zbrush, and then you bring it in and you get some of that same, or even a bit more detail that way. But for Dota 2, I would definitely, if you're doing a whole Indian headdress, then you should use alpha. An alpha texture, because you're gonna have a lot of feathers, obviously, right? So how you do the detail is up to you with the two options I gave you, but definitely use like alpha sheets like I did for the grass on his shoulders. That'll help you out. Racist, I'm not sure how to say your name. No, this is in Zbrush right now. This is a 3D program that sculpts super high detail. We don't get back into Dota until we compile and rig the model, and that's much further down the line. We still have to texture and everything. Alright. Let's see. Get warmed up. Still pretty low detail right here. Want to get a feel for this. Could probably go another subdivision down. Well, optician, you can add the detail anywhere you want. You can do it in Zbrush if you want to get super crazy detail, but I don't think you need to because it's for Dota 2 and it's a really small texture. I think you can get away with just doing it in Photoshop. But what I'm saying is definitely use 2D planes to add the feather in game, so you can have, you can make a feather out of 2 polygons. One if you get tricky, but with 2 polygons, with quads, you can do feathers all the way across, and you don't use that many polygons. how you do the normal map. If you want a normal map for the feather part, that's up to you if you want to do that in Zbrush or you just do it in Photoshop. I think Photoshop would be fine for it because you won't really see that much detail. And even if you do, you can still do a bit of a normal map in Photoshop as well, but yeah. Ryan92, how do you rig shoulder or braces on top of your mesh? Let me point you towards our tutorial we have on our website, and that will answer all your questions. So for everybody else too, as well, if you're new to the stream, we are Live Workshop. Check out liveworkshop.com, and over there, well, you can see our free giveaway that we're advertising yesterday. You can check it out here. We have the broadcast archive, and you can go through all our past broadcasts that we've done on here on our live stream. And you can see us working through texture stuff, through masks, tutoring streams, beauty render stuff, more sculpting. There's a lot of cloth stuff that people like watching and learning from. And we also have a tutorial section right here, which we started still pretty early on. But if you click this tutorial, it'll actually show you step by step on how to rig, compile, publish, and test your items in Dota. So actually, I think we rig the mask or the arm. I think the mask on this tutorial, but it'll work the same as your shoulders, and I'll tell you, you just have to rig it to the shoulder bone and follow the steps by steps that this video will show you. So head on over there and check it out, and just follow the steps, and you'll get it done in no time. You're welcome, man. Hope it works out. I just want to test out the resolution. I think I went another higher resolution when I actually got started on this before as well. A little bit low, but it might be okay for now. Yeah, this will do. See if we can get this in one swipe. We can do better. We could use lazy mouse here, but it actually helps me warm up, get my curves right. A pretty good one. Yes, Lick, I just did that for, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to sculpt the wood and how the best scale resolution that it would look at. And I was just testing out what tools and how to approach doing the wood for this guy. So that was all a complete test, and it was throwaway work. But it was good practice to get started for this guy. So yeah, that was throwaway work. Forge Spirit? The get some of these a little bit angled too. They doesn't look too uniform. It looks like an ice cream cone. What? Yeah, kinda. Alright, we'll make it more rugged in a bit. We're just getting some lines to set up the direction of our sculpt that will follow in a few minutes. Now I thought for the eyes here we could give them kind of like those, you know, the rings inside of a tree. That'll be really small, but at least we can try. Seem a bit more tree-like, older at the same time, perhaps. This will look better once we start doing the edge work for it, but these are just little guidelines that I'm setting up first. I want to take off mirroring so I can have separate stuff over here than over here. Let's see, if the mouth was closed, I would have to hide and do a whole bunch of different stuff instead of just jumping in and drawing my lines. We can even hide this right now. Check this. Or I can go in this direction and not worry about that crap. Now here's where we can get cute and draw some rings. I mean, you're more likely to never see this in game. Maybe in our render we can have the mouth open really wide, maybe, and we see the rings. Maybe not, but at least we have them in there. Kinda clever. I think I'm at sub-level 6. And I'm able to get away with that because I already have my volumes set up from Softimage. When I did my sub Ds, let me show you guys really quickly. Trying to do really quickly this time. Center this guy back up for you. So you see how it's still rounded off? If I was just to subdivide this, see how it's on the inside? I actually went in, after I subdivided my mid-poly version before bringing it into Zbrush, I pulled out a lot of these verts, kind of like that, all throughout the model. A good way to do that is to set your translocator to local, so you can just kind of pull it out on the normal map axis. Speeds up your work time, but that's pretty much what I did. So I fixed up all the volumes so that my sub D version was not going to be sucked in, and it was going to be perfectly on the volumes I wanted. So I don't have to sculpt the volumes anymore on my mesh. So once it's in Zbrush, then I just actually subdivide and I can just add all my detail in. And I knew I could do that because I did a test beforehand, but it's always, you know, test out different levels and see how much subdivision level you need for maybe a little bit of volume modification, and then to actually start putting your detail in there. But because we're just doing straight detail now, I was able to jump to subdivide. I'm at subdivision 5 right now, actually, not 6. So yeah, I mean it's a lot of polygons, but we don't need to mess around with the volumes too much. If we do, then we just lower the subdivision to like level 2 or 3, and we can sculpt a little bit of that, those volume changes, and then go back to subdivision 5, and then keep adding our detail at that point. STM Kobe. I am self-taught, but I did always ask people whenever I got stuck, and I searched forums and I asked questions to people that knew more than me at the time. So it's all about practice and searching out help from people and from professionals. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to help out. So always seek for advice when you're getting started, guys. Now I think I'm gonna try and do a little bit of a curly little wood here. Just like that. Get a little more into the fantasy space. A little, you know, little designs here and there. Fits really well with Dota. Not something I do a lot of, but I'm trying to do a bit more to stay pull closer to that fantasy style and lore. Actually, I'm going a bit slow, native cool, but thanks, man. I'm trying to explain things and going back and forth, and then I get out of my groove and jump back in and try to sculpt a little bit more. I'm going a little slow. I should be going faster than this. But I think it's more helpful this way if I go slow and explain more stuff for you guys. So this part right here is unique in UVs, and then the mirroring starts like I think on this line here or somewhere. So I'm gonna take off my mirroring tool here that you see. It would take it off, and then I just go on one side. So always keep in mind if you're mirroring stuff when to put that on and when to take it off. Sometimes people forget and they have their left side mirror and they're like, oh crap, that's supposed to be unique, and then they need to reopen it or do a separate fast render for it. And bit of a mess up. No, I haven't messed around with the colors yet. We're gonna do that into the texture phase of the model. I'm pretty sure I know what the wood colors are gonna look like. It'd just be a shift on the how much yellow we put onto the green here at the top, maybe. Always check both sides when you're doing edges like this. Sometimes your tool will mess up and it'll send those polys way through the front there and it'll become a huge mess. So keep a close eye on those kind of things, guys. Always check the other side. These guys like to jump way across. Like right there. Actually, I think I might have done that before. Turn it up a little bit to go through it. Now we'll clean all this stuff up. Again, these are just guidelines and they're gonna look crappy, but that's how Zbrush works. When you start, it just looks really unfinished. And you're just dying to add that detail and make it look perfect, but you have to work in stages. And that usually comes across when you're making your subdivisions. You always start at a low subdivision, not like we're doing right now, because again, what I explained about the volumes. But you always start at a lower subdivision and kind of like put all that volume and that layout and blueprint of where your detail is gonna lie, like we're doing right now with these lines. We just happen to be at a higher subdivision level, but start off setting it up these guidelines, and then you subdivide and then you start making it look. But don't try to make it look pretty right off the bat. You're gonna run into problems and make the sculpting way more difficult than it should be. Oh yeah, let's give a shout out to Danny them. So we were at the International and we're gonna work on this Treant, and it was my idea to come up with he wanted to do like a heavy set kind of like beast thing of some sort. So I came up with the idea of doing a gorilla for our Treant. So as he was drawing it out and sketching out the beginnings of it, we went back and forth, and I helped him out with the art direction, and then he went off and he, after that, the International, he continued on doing the concept, and he finished it off, and this is close to the final concept that he did. He had other versions with way more yellow at the end and some other design on the leaf, which I wasn't sure about, but we'll take a look at that later on when we do the texture stuff, and we'll see how much. He had way more yellow, I'm pointing with my finger, way more yellow at the top. So that might work, that might not, and he had like a different kind of grass at the top as well. So that, again, that's something we can play around with the texture, but this was a pretty good middle space that I found, so I kind of like clumped together this image here out of different versions that he had, and we're gonna start off from here and see where we go to for the final one. But yeah, I mean, he came out with a really nice little 3/4 view concept for our Treant. Did a really good job. So shoutouts to Danny them. X8 balls, hotkeys for Zbrush. Well, that's the thing, in Zbrush you don't really use that many hotkeys when you're sculpting. I mean, I've set up my menu in a way, like you can customize your menu, and I've thrown, you know, the main shaders that I use up here. You see the mesh. And I've set up the most of the brushes that I use up here in the top left, and I have my import and export Go Z down here, and my save tool over here. So I really just like use B to bring up my brushes, and then you can hit the next letters to go into your next sub menus, and it's pretty self-explanatory that way. See, besides that, it's just about, you know, adding and subtracting with the shift and alt and control keys and hiding and all that stuff. Alright, where were we? Oh, we're not on the right tool. So even as you're doing your ZBrush, push the model into the back and take a look and see if your lines are actually are a good distance afar from each other, so that they'll show up in the normal map and in your texture, so that you can see them in game, you know, about a yay distance or so. So we are seeing some of those little cuts. Well, and those cuts will actually get bigger once we start detailing them out. But I think they're far apart enough that they don't create a bunch of noise. So this is going to be mirrored on the back, I think from here down, this way. You can see there. We're losing symmetry here and there. It happens. That's okay. If we want to get really cute here, we just do a little. That's cute. And every time we finish a little bit of a stage somewhere, you know, if we just finish doing like the guidelines for our sculpt, unhide everything and then save. Don't save with stuff hidden because Zbrush doesn't like that stuff. Always unhide your things. Keyboard. There we go. This keyboard is Corsair. It's the version that has the extra keys on the left side. It's got 3 rows of extra keys. And I've set up all different programs keys over here. And then what I'm going to do in the future is set up different hotkeys within each program. So I can switch between, depending on what program I'm on. If I'm playing Dota, I can have different keys all over here. Or if I'm Zbrush or XSI, I can set up predetermined tools or macros on all these keys over here. So it becomes really, really useful. I just haven't gone around to actually setting it up for all my programs yet. Been dealing with hard drives that got fried up from a faulty power supply, which is just a complete nightmare. But we're working through it. Now this is gonna be mirrored too, so we gotta be careful. Not adding too much detail in the center here. Now, for this part, I think I really wanted to show off with the wood. Even though you won't see this part too much, I still want to get a little bit clever with it. And follow a little bit of the musculature and also really bring out the rib cage in the normal map as much as possible here. And breaking up the bark in a way that it kind of mimics a rib cage works really well, I think. We're gonna make his little monkey butt, or gorilla butt, a little bit pronounced because it's funny. I should paint the butt red. The LEDs are customizable, yeah. So I think I have a couple of setups so far. I think that's my Dota. And that's my EF2. And I haven't done any yet for any programs yet. But I can have this lights lit up over here as well. These are still just guidelines. Everything that we design for Dota goes into the Steam Workshop, and then Valve has to put it in game themselves. So right now we're just kind of following some, like the muscles of the body, and that's how we're kind of placing some of these wood planks down. So knowing your anatomy is always important. So this detail here actually have to make it way bigger because it's gonna be tiny on the texture. We're gonna get a little harsh over here. A little bit more angular at the same time. This is like Gorillant Treant for Nature's Prophets Treants, not for Treant Protector. Then another subdivision there to clean that up. Leave it as is and continue working with the rest of our mesh. Now, our grass sheets go down about halfway through the shoulder, I think. So let's about there. Halfway through the mouth. That ass, right? Just for you, Nayla. Sorry guys, 1 second. Business. Alright. So we're gonna try and get part of this design on there because I really like the way he cut that up and the little guy's floating there. So we're gonna put that across just below the shoulder so that it actually shows up through the grass a little bit. So if that was, say, bottom there, we'll go and put it down here. And we'll separate it more because it's gonna... the texture's gonna be rather small, so... Alright, alright. Red Treants. I don't know, man. Well, I guess it could be like the huge ones from Princess Bride. Some huge ass rat treants. Hello, this is Gamer. Welcome from Brazil. And hello from California. Oh, this? Yeah. Yeah, this totally scratchy, you're right. Once I start detailing it, I'm sure this will be cleaned up quite a bit. These are just pretty rough guidelines for when we start adding clay tubes and a lot of detail. I imagine a lot of this stuff will actually change quite a bit. As we start linking all these pieces together. And start creating better overlaps. And we'll have bigger dips and larger gaps between a lot of these pieces when we start doing more finalized work. And at the same time, that space will give our texture and our normal map more space to come through, be more visible. which was our section. It's here. Now we start doing some clay tubes and actually starting change that depth, you know, using our guidelines for what's on top and what's on the bottom, and then we can start adding layers on top of those two layers that we start separating. Yeah, man, I love putting on Ronald Jenkins while I'm working. It's really mellow. Oh, that part is touchy. Or another subdivision to really get into the detail. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Hey, TV Doto, how you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. TV Doto will be animating this Treant for us, guys. Say hello. Thank you, STI7. Yeah, let's get started on that, man. Eternal Jenkins, man. You can't go wrong. If you start blending your eyes, you can start to see a little bit of the bark and the places where I'm lifting it up and the places where I'm pushing it down. And then when we do that, then we go back and then we detail it again and again and again, and we keep getting our really nice layers. We don't care about this side anymore. We just care about getting this middle to look okay, and then this side we can just stop worrying about. Yeah, actually, we're gonna get a TV Doto as we're gonna have a stream page at liveworkshop.com, and we're gonna have a featured artist on there. And I'm gonna invite TV Doto to be part of that, and he'll be able to add his shows on our schedule on our website, and you'll be able to set reminders so you can catch different shows from different artists or your favorite artists, hopefully. So keep an eye out for that on the liveworkshop.com.